Always makes me nervous starting. I don't,
Well, that's what, they say sometimes. The scariest or most difficult part of anything is thinking about doing it. When you're actually doing it, it's fine.
And then it's not so bad.
Hello everybody, and welcome to The Whole Rabbit, where we don't just read some inspirational quotes superimposed over some snowy mountains on Facebook. Fuck no! We dig out the Kybalion and go through the Hermetic principles one by one, through each of the 7, investigating them individually for their theoretical and spiritual, validity.
Correspondence?
Yes. So hello everybody, welcome to The Whole Rabbit. We're talking about the Kybalion today. I'm joined by my special guest co-host, Rona The Time Witch.
Hello.
From the Sleepy Forest Academy of Magic.
Oh God, don't remind me, I have that website. I haven't logged in.
Well, it's got good stuff on there. It's just, quality takes time, so.
Like this. This is on there.
Yeah.
The topic of today.
Yeah, you should stop in and see what's up.
Yeah, that means I'll have to update.
Well, how do you get there, Rona? How do you get to Sleepy Forest Academy of Magic?
Screaming.
You just scream into the void. You
Yes,
just draw
you
a pentacle
scream
on the
into
ground.
the void and you will find it. But I'm going to take the reins of this and turn us to our 7.
Oh, come on. You don't want to give us the website?
Lordy, if you want to find it, Google it.
Okay.
Sleepy Forest Academy of Magic.
It's just that easy, folks.
You know it.
Just get on board. Okay, so what are we talking about today? The Kybalion. Now, I've seen you spend some motherfucking time with this text, man.
I have a picture on the website and on my Instagram of how heavily annotated that book is. I'm looking for it. I found it. It looks like a Christmas tree, kind of. You hear that, people? That's how many flags I have sticking out of this book.
It's like a dinosaur stegosaurus spine of annotated sticky notes all through the book.
And the funniest thing is, you're the one who suggested I read this book.
Did I?
A long time ago when we first started working together, you're like, you gotta read the Kybalion, and I called it the Kybalion,
The Kybalion?
Yeah, and I could never find it online, PDF'd.
Really?
Ever. I could not for the life of me, and that's how I read a lot of my books.
Me too.
But I could not find it. So I was at Barnes & Noble one day, reminiscing about Borders, and I bought it. It's a really cheap book. It was only $10 US, and I read it, and it was scary.
Really?
Yes. It
What?
was scary how everything became, clear. This is a skeleton key to the universe, my friends.
I definitely found some stuff in there that's I don't think I got it the first time I read it. And it's a little more deceptive than you'd think. It seems a lot like it's presenting these principles, but it seems like it's hinting at if you figure it out, your life will just be the tits.
It kind of is, not gonna lie. But I mean, that's how I, as a person, handle or decompress this information. It sucks knowing, but at the same time, knowing is kind of cool because you can make sense of why things are happening or what's going on in your own life, or you can kind of anticipate what's going to happen next. It's a little key to literally anything. There's so many correspondences to so many things in religion or medicine, or really anything, just thought, meditation, that it's kind of cool having it all, and it's all knowledge we already know, so.
I don't want to throw the 3 initiates under the bus right away, but I'm totally going to do that. Well, some digging seems to show that it was this guy named William Walker Atkinson.
TK.
Yeah, and he was born in 1862 on December 5th.
Yeah.
And he was an attorney.
Okay.
And I think he lived in Chicago.
All right.
I think it was.
Yeah.
But this guy had some other interesting texts, which people seem to. He had a lot of pseudonyms.
He was a witch.
Yes.
Oh wait, really?
Yeah, he had a lot of pseudonyms, and so a lot of people just associate him as the author of the book. He also sometimes would write under the title of one of his pseudonyms. It was really funny. He claimed to be an Indian mystic yogi.
Yeah.
Yogi Rama Karaka.
Well, wait, that's one of his pseudonyms?
Well, for 10 years, he wrote books under the name of Yogi Rama Karaka.
All right.
Who supposedly attained his wisdom from Yogi Bharata.
That guy later went on to run for president as Baraka Baka Baka.
Klaatu Bharata Nikto.
My furniture is gonna start floating. Stop it.
So that could be fun. Don't fall off. So I'm gonna throw him under the bus. For everything I could tell, for what I could read is there's a lot of like, oh, this is Hermeticism, but it's actually like it's like kind of a lot of new thought. You know what I mean? Like it's sort of the original The Secret.
All right.
That's kind of what I.
Okay, so I have to read The Secret now. Great. Everyone, this is the third time The Secret has come up, and now I have to read it.
Okay, here's sort of what it looks like. So we're gonna go over these 7 Hermetic principles,
Yes.
right? Because that's mainly what this show's about. We're not just gonna yabber about the history of this dude.
But let's actually talk about the history of this dude, but not that dude.
Yeah,
this dude,
yeah.
Hermes Trismegistus.
Trismegistus.
I did a report on this earlier this morning for a grade, and I still can't pronounce the dude's name.
Is he made of wheat, and can we put cheese on him?
I think I called him like half-baked minestrone sandwich. Anyway.
It's making me hungry.
Right. So this guy...
Why is his name so appetite-inducing?
Well, because he was so great that they named him thrice. He was said to be this guy who existed around the same time as Abraham. Which you start to realize is where a lot of the correspondences come from in Christianity and Hinduism and Islam, and that's because Abraham is the one who wrote those. And there are even so many other historians who might even think that Abraham talked with Hermes Trismegistus and got a lot of that knowledge for those religions from
like
him.
They were contemporaries.
Exactly.
Maybe when Abraham was gonna like sacrifice his son, Hermes is like, "Whoa, man, it's just a koan."
It was just a joke.
It was a metaphor.
When we said
idiot.
kill the kid.
It's like, why don't you just take his foreskin instead?
Whoa. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. But of course, there are other historians who say that he wasn't even a person at all. Like, he did not exist at all, and he's just a combination of Thoth, the Egyptian scribe to the gods, and Hermes, or Mercury, the messenger. And scribe, Hermes, yeah? What else did he do?
Yeah, well, okay, so 3 initiates, William Atkinson says, what did he say? I think he said in the text that, oh boy, what did he say? He said that Hermes Trismegistus was a mortal dude, living in, like, really early Egypt.
Dude was a bro, man.
He discovered alchemy. He invented astrology.
You know it.
And that he started the Hermetic sciences. And then when he died, after like 300 years of life, the Egyptians worshipped him and called him Thoth. And then his system of learning and wisdom passed down to the Greeks, and then they called him
Hermes.
Hermes.
Or Mercury.
Yes.
Look at that winged hat. See, the problem is whenever I think of like Hermes, my brain immediately goes to Hercules, Disney movie, and that is not what he did. Well, it kind of was.
Isn't Hermes is like, wait, Mercury in that movie is like a little like pizza delivery guy, right?
Exactly. And that does not do, any case, justice to him.
It works for the Mercury archetype, but not really Hermes.
True.
Because if you've ever driven Uber or delivered pizzas, you're doing Mercury's work. Short trips.
Right. So Hermes, he writes these letters, right?
Okay.
And they're supposed to be to his initiate, and they're supposed to enlighten him.
Oh, okay.
And it's said that the only thing that they were called the Corpus Hermetica, right?
Okay.
And then these letters were later decoded, and that's how they kind of came down with the principles that was supposed to be in the letters that Hermes Triad-Minestrone wrote.
And it said in the text that the Kybalion is like an older text, and that he's just trying to like summarize it into his Kybalion, which is like smaller and more bite-sized, which is probably BS, but is that sort of the same thing? It's like these principles have been derived from correspondences between Hermes and a student, is what you're saying? Originally?
Yeah, he was. It's like God. How can I? Well, remember the Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage.
Yes.
The very first chunk of that were letters telling his son, "Yo, dog, I'm leaving this to you because I can't leave you the Torah because religion."
That's what it is. That's what it reminded me of.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because it's like religion, I can't give it to you because I'm supposed to give it to your older son. That's just how it works.
That's so
but
wacky.
Yo, you're still my kid. I still love you. Here's pretty much what you're gonna learn after you decode that, and that's what this is kind of. That's what this kind of is. These 7 principles were taken from decoding his letters, we think, and in through the emerald, and he wrote the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. They say.
They say yes.
They say. So,
Which are really great. We should probably do an episode on that at some point.
I love the Emerald. Oh, and I can go into all this detail about like the Emerald Tablets and the Count of Monte Cristo, and I can bring literature in.
One of the best translations is by Newton.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Isaac Newton was into that shit.
Dude, okay.
He was trying to figure out if space had absolute location or not. Like, if everything is relative or if there's like an absolute grid-like location. You know what I mean? And that was really what he was obsessed with, and then gravity was just like sitting around on his desk doing nothing. Like, he didn't even give a shit.
And of course, yeah, Hermes is said to have, discovered astrology and astronomy and the astro medicine, so of course it would make sense if he wrote the Emerald Tablet.
So do we want to get started with the 7 principles? Or?
Are you guys freaking ready for this?
Yeah, are you ready?
Are you ready to receive the key?
This is like the Spark Notes to the Spark Notes audiobook version. This is truly for the lazy that want to read this book, but not read the book.
But you can, you should. Honestly, I still remember the exact date that I finished this book, and I realized, whoa, dude, whoa, now everything makes sense. Not everything, but it's like I can kind of start chipping away at the universe. It's cool.
I'm a slow reader, and I read like 88% of it at work today. Because I read it when the before times, but I haven't read it since. And
so let me just refresh that memory. This will be a refresher course.
Get prepared to be refreshed. grab your fucking Shasta water or whatever. What are we drinking?
We're totally not endorsed.
We're not endorsed, but we should pay us money, Arrowhead.
Yeah, Arrowhead Mountain Sparkling Spring Water Black Cherry.
It's disgusting, but I can't stop drinking it.
Exactly, right? And we have so much of it at the house. I don't know why. I think it was on sale, and my landlord was like, yes! I mean, you can make drinks with it.
You're trying to catch a scene, girl. You just put some out in a little bowl on your front porch.
Oh my God.
It's around like 2:40.
Is that what scene girls drink? 2:45
in the morning, you just open your door, she's like, out of the bowl.
All right.
Okay, anyway,
Christ.
We got to get to the first principle.
But before we get to that, the Hermetic philosophy, the very beginning of the Kybalion. That is not the introduction. Would you like to read, or should I?
Oh, go for it.
It says, the lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding.
Which is pretty deep, because that right there is like, oh, I know my Kabbalah, because the second sphere is wisdom, and the third is understanding, and then even in that scheme in Kabbalah, the wisdom is the active, and then the understanding is the passive, or the feminine. So like, that actually jumped out to me when I read it. I was like, okay. So he's in the Kabbalah shit.
Yeah, but at the same time, it is exactly what it says. It's like a completely surface statement. It's like, you can read this book, and if you don't understand it, it's because you're not ready yet. You're not, the lips of wisdom are sealed, except for so, if you're ready, and you understand, if you get it, you get it. Great, welcome, here's the keys.
So that's when they say, like, for those who have ears to hear, should hear.
So, now that that's been gone over.
So there's, like, wisdom outpouring, but if you don't have the understanding, then you're not going to get any of it. So that's the first thing.
Yeah, but if you do, good on you. The principles of truth are 7. He who knows these, you do it.
Okay. What is it? What are we quoting here?
Right up here.
The principles of truth are 7.
7.
He who knows these understanding possesses the magic key, before whose touch all the doors of the temple fly open.
That sounds a little sexual.
All of the temple.
All of the temple. I want the temple doors to fly open.
You want to run through them right quick? Just run through the 7?
Yeah, what are the 7? What have we got here? We got the first one, the principle of mentalism. And we got the second one is the principle of correspondence. The third one is the principle of vibration. The fourth is polarity. The fifth is rhythm. The sixth is cause and effect. And the 7th is gender.
So we can guarantee by the 7th principle, we will lose what?
All the white people at rhythm?
No.
Okay.
If you had any LGBT, or there are no just 2 gender, we're bi.
We are fucked.
We're bi.
Like,
yeah. Like, you see, like, well, realistic. Any case.
If you got your vagina hat on, like, you can just throw this book right in the fire, along with Mein Kampf, because it's like there are. Actually, though, when you get to that section, it really doesn't seem like it's throwing trannies.
Well, it's not. It doesn't. It's literally because
it's mainly talking about electrons.
Okay, but yeah, you'll understand by the time we get there. So let's kick it off.
Okay.
That first one there.
And this is the most controversial one, but probably the most important one in the book. For at least I think that's the point he's trying to make. I think it's the principle of mentalism, and it says, and it's like it's weird to quote your own book within your book, but I think he's saying there's an older book that he got it from or whatever.
That's right. When I first started reading, I'm like, oh, the Kybalion says that.
Wait a
but
minute.
I'm reading the Kybalion. Why are you quoting your own book?
Fuck it.
I'm quoting Hermes.
It's some Donald Trump shit.
Maybe. Whoa.
The all is mind. The universe is mental. Not menstrual, by the way. Although it might be. That's for another discussion. So all is mind. Now this is what we were talking about on the walk before I like abruptly cut off our conversation to save it for the podcast.
Man, here we go.
Because you have to take physics your next semester, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I was saying all is mind. I think this is mainly what he's saying. He's like, physics is like the mind of God. You know, like everything that's going on in the universe is going on because it's being mentated by the all. I don't know.
I'm hearing Lovecraft.
Yeah, that does make it sound kind of scary.
Which older elder god is that? The one who sleeps and is dreaming us?
Yeah, like Azathoth.
Azathoth?
I think that I might have that wrong. I'm not a Lovecraft guy.
I feel like, but yeah, that's essential, like blanket statement. If there is,
you tricked me. I don't even like saying that name out loud.
We're fucked. Yeah, but the all. So to really understand this, you have to know what the all is, what all encompasses. And all, we've lost the true meaning of all. Like we say all of us, or, you know, we all, or you all. But no, all really means, in this sense, everything. Literally everything.
What about nothing?
Yes, that too. Because
Okay,
in
good.
order to encompass everything, you have to encompass nothing too. And that's duality and polarity, which are the other principles. But we'll get to that when we get to that. And then it goes on to go like 2 chapters just unpacking what the all is.
Right, and so this is where your fundamentalist Christian would be like, no!
But at the same time, yes, because if God is everywhere and in everything,
Yeah.
they're literally just talking about the all. The all is another word for God, or like the God of gods, or like the dude who is like, or the thing. No, and that's the thing. Like, literally in the book they say it's so expansive and infinite and universal that talking about it isn't talking about it. You're defining something that has no definition. It's infinite.
It reminds me of the Robert Anton Wilson, the roadmap is not the territory, because any system you're attempting to summarize, you are going to have to simplify it to some degree, and the roadmap is never going to be the territory, because to have an accurate roadmap, it would need to be the exact same size as the territory, and then you just got 2 territories anyway. So basically, I forget where I was going with that. Okay, yeah, there's no way out of the all. That's what I was getting with that. There's no way, like, this is like, God isn't outside of creation imposing itself on creation. God is outside of creation and inside of creation and is creation.
And is creating, because the only thing, like, it's infinitely expanding. The all, the very first thing it says, under and back of the universe of time, space, and change is ever to be found the substantial reality, the fundamental truth. And of course, substance means that which underlines all and outward. So they go on and they're like, look, substance is anything that exists. Anything that exists must be an essential element or is real, etc., you know, or really real. Reality means the state of being real, true, enduring, valid, fixed, permanent, and actual. So the substantial reality, everything exists at the same fucking time.
Okay.
And things that don't exist are coming into existence at the same time. And it's like...
Now, okay. This is also probably the most Kabbalistic it gets in the book, because it's like, it really gets into like the whole Kether Malkuth thing, where it's like, oh, the all has no beginning and has no end, right? It's kind of like the Ein Sof for the limitless light, and it's kind of like Kether because it like creates, and it describes it as like being, like if you were to have a pitch frequency, it would start off low, like boo, and then you'd make it go faster, increase frequency, and be like boo, and then it'd be like beep, and then if you did it fast enough,
it would start generating heat.
Yeah, it would start generating heat, and then it goes on and on and on to be like, it would eventually go so fast as to appear to be not moving. And then it says, like, the material world appears to be not moving, even though it totally is. It's going so slow it appears to not be
And
moving.
then it goes, boop,
And it's, like, almost the same.
and it's gone.
So that's, like, the Kethers in Malkuth, and the Malkuth is in Kether. And you can't get out. Also, I like what it said here in the text. It said, you can't, like, create a hole. You can't create a rip. You can't. There's no outside of the all. You just can't do it. Anything you're conceiving of necessarily is inside of that shit.
Exactly.
I've always intuitively felt that, like, that idea of the all, you just can't get out of it.
The all is infinite, absolute, eternal, unchangeable. It must follow that anything finite, changeable, fleeting, and conditioned cannot be the all. If it is a thing, it can't be the all, but it is the all because it's in the all. And if you guys are starting to, like, lose it here, don't worry. It makes sense.
Okay, so, like, let's think of an example. Okay, so he's sort of, like, talking about God, but he's just saying the all. And
Yes.
he's like, okay, so you've got Shakespeare, and then you got characters like Macbeth and King Lear.
Exactly.
Now, you can say that King Lear and Macbeth are inside of Shakespeare, and you can say there's a little bit of Shakespeare, or there is Shakespeare inside of Macbeth and inside of King Lear, but
Exactly.
but it'd be ridiculous for King Lear or Macbeth to proclaim themselves, I am Shakespeare. Like, it would be ridiculous for you or me to claim, I am God, even though it would be accurate to say that God is within us.
Yes.
So, he pays a little, I don't know what you call it, whatever, to the traditional God is above creation idea. But he also mentions that he talks about involution and evolution. Now, because we're the whole rabbit, we necessarily have to talk about this shit.
Screaming.
Okay, did you get this part? Because I've tried to, I feel like I've gotten into screaming fights with Andrew about fucking involution and evolution, trying to understand the difference, and he really gets it more than I do. Did you catch that whole bit in there about involution and evolution? Okay, so here's how I think it's described in there. So you got involution is when spirit is going into matter. It's like creating. It's like I'm spirit and I'm becoming matter. I'm creating. I'm going into materiality.
So involution would be getting an idea, drawing a plan, and then creating that thing in the material world.
I think so.
Got it.
Now this is why I always get confused. I'm pretty sure. So it's like it's the outpouring of spiritual energy into the material world, right?
Yes.
And then evolution is the opposite force. So, like, once involution gets all the way to the bottom of the material, gets all the way to the grossest part, it begins its ascent back up the tree or whatever, back towards the Godhead, right? And that's evolution. So the first one is spirit becoming matter, and then the second path back way up is matter becoming spiritualized.
I'm 7 chapters in, and it's still talking about the all. It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah. So I guess, and then it also says, like, because there's nothing outside of the all. This is also what I like, that it's its own law. It is the law. Like,
but it is also above the law because it's the all. It's everything. It has to be in order to change the thing that is always changing. But it is also, but it itself is unchangeable.
And it doesn't need a reason either.
It's like, just fuck you, because I'm the all. I'm everything. What are you going to do about it?
It is what it is, you know?
The all must be all that really is. There can be nothing existing outside the all, else the all would not be the all. So for it to be what it is, it has to be everything. In order for God to be what God is, he's got to be everything, or she's got to be everything, or it's got to be everything. Like, defining something that is indefinable is blasphemous.
and so the idea that, like, spirit or the all is manifesting into reality is the idea that, like, he associates it with attention. So, like, it's the all is giving its attention to the material world, so it's like involving, and then when we show up, we're like the part of the universe that evolves back towards the Godhead. I don't know, man. This shit still always confuses me.
Yeah, and that's why they spend 8 chapters unpacking the first principle, because you need to understand the first principle before you go into the book. And it's like, there's something, so that anxiety you feel, or when you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, when somebody catches you, is kind of the attention that the all is giving times like a fucking infinite amount.
Okay.
You look at a person and there's a phenomena in which you see what you would look like through that person's eyes, and that's what creates that anxiety when you
Oh.
get caught doing something you're not supposed to do.
Okay.
There's a word for it, and I would totally Google it, but I don't feel like clickety-clacking on my...
I bet it sounds French. We'll have to come up with it later.
Now I have to figure out what it is. But yeah, so that attention to the universe is the thing that makes us.
Okay, so all is mind because the all, the
Is
process
mental.
of involution, which is creation, the process of evolution, which is spiritual ascent back towards the Godhead, is here conceptualized as mental, basically. It's
like-
the mind of God or the mind of the all, right?
Yeah. So about spending that much time, what does this all mean essentially? Where can something that infinite, that abundant, that amazing exist? Where is that energy that cannot be taken from itself but only added to? Because if the all is forever changing, that means that it can't be material, because material has to come from something.
Yeah.
And if it comes from something, that it is something, which means it's not nothing, which means
Right.
it can't be the all. So where can all of that exist? Where can you endlessly create something without needing the material? Where can you be above it all and yet be also a part of it? The universe is mental.
Okay.
In your own mind. And that's the key.
That's the
universe
secret.
That's the secret right there. Done. What are we?
And so that
27 minutes in?
Tw-
Boom.
So we have to
Credits.
spend the most time on this one because he says it in there. It's like, this is the one that science just will not acknowledge. Like, science pretty much acknowledges all the other shit I'm going to talk about in here. So, and it also is the key to unlocking all the other secrets, which there are 6. I guess we could continue because we sort of laid it down on that chapter. You don't even
know
have to
it.
read that shit now. Okay.
The only place that all of this, like the
It's a
whole,
short book.
what 8 chapters is pretty much trying to tell you is, in order for there to be a God, it has to be outside of us, and we are being thought by it, because that's the only way you can create endless universes, endless anything. You can think of anything in your mind, and it will exist within your mind right there. But it itself cannot get out of your mind until you yourself do something on your own
But
plane.
we're a part of God. So.
Exactly.
And then it said in there that once we reach our ultimate goal, it's like we don't get annihilated. He subscribes to that whole like Yogananda shit where it's like, oh, when you get absorbed in the Godhead, you keep your individuality, but you're still like with the Godhead, which sounds great. But anyway,
It sounds great, but
yeah.
that's what all of Evangelion's about. It's not great. Boom, now you don't have to watch that.
Oh,
So,
man.
the planes of correspondence.
Oh, is that the second one?
Yes,
So we're on to
number...
number 2, planes of correspondence.
Yes,
Let's do
the
this.
second Hermetic principle. So, now you get to toy around with that key. The first door it unlocks. The planes of correspondence. We exist on a physical plane. And then, of course, you've got the mental plane, right?
Okay, yeah.
And then you've got the spiritual plane. And
Right.
the only way they can all be tied together is correspondence.
Okay, so it's like if you have something that symbolizes something, it'll have an effect on those other planes.
Exactly.
I feel like it didn't. It almost didn't. It did talk about that in that. I read through it kind of quick, but it also talks about the physical plane, the mental plane, and the spiritual plane.
Oh, we didn't even say what the principle was. As above, so below, as above. I think. As above, so below, so above. Yeah.
Right.
Sound familiar? Anyone who might be Roman Catholic watching? Listening? Oh, listening.
I feel like this one I intuitively understand, but it's really hard to explain.
On earth as it is in heaven.
Right. On earth as it is in heaven.
So, like, heaven's supposed to be a spiritual plane, earth is the physical plane, and then so the Godhead would be like the mental plane, imagining all of us.
Yeah.
Boom, tied it back to the first principle. If I didn't get a good grade on this freaking speech, I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah, because you did a speech about this for class.
Yeah,
Hope
but I
these
went
fuckers
over
listen.
the time by 3 minutes. He's gonna roast me, I know it.
We're already a half hour in. We just got past the first one.
Dude, it's a lot to unpack.
It is. It's a short book. You could probably read the book in the amount of time that you're listening to this podcast if you're a fast reader. So, like, here's what I remember from this chapter,
Yeah.
and it almost doesn't sound like correspondence to me, but it has this principle, the physical, the etheric, and the spiritual, which is great because it's understood that there's a physical plane, and then superimposed over that is the mental plane, and then the one above that's the spiritual plane, and the mental plane or the etheric plane is like the go-between, right?
Yeah.
Between the two worlds. And so and it's kind of like a step down thing where you know, everything is causal from the spiritual to the mental to the physical. But I don't know. He also said that they're all the same thing. They're just sort of have, like, the
That's
physical.
what the all is, dog.
Yeah, the physical plane connects to the mental plane, connects to the spiritual plane in like subtle layers, and there's seven. What is these? There's like 7 levels of each.
Okay, so we got
It
the
seems a bit
great physical
arbitrary to
plane,
me,
the
but-
great mental plane, the great spiritual plane, and then that's divided
Into 7 parts
5, 6,
each.
7 parts, and that's the plane of matter A through C, the plane of ethereal substance, the go-between, and then you've got the plane of energy A through C. Plane of matter A, solids, liquids, gases. Plane of matter B, higher, subtle forms of matter, like, you know, radiant matter, ultraviolet light, stuff like that. Plane of matter C is the most subtle and tenuous. That's like ether, flame, the energy that we can't really, or plasma? Is plasma ether? I think
No.
plasma is the ethereal.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
We'd have to do an electrical.
The waves of energy,
universe.
yeah, plasma, light, energy, heat, that sort of thing. That's the ether. That's the etherical.
Yeah, I think this was written in a time too where they still actually believed in the ether.
Ether's not real.
Well, that's the thing in the conspiracy, you know, / paranormal world. It's being spoken of pretty heavily right now. It's called the electrical universe.
All right.
And it's basically the idea that light doesn't propagate through an empty vacuum of space, that light is totally suffused with the ether, and that it moves more like electricity through a medium. It
Oh, shit, science.
It pulses, you know? And so light is, it's something that conducts through the ether.
But then the ether would exist because it's being conducted through it.
Right. It's like a medium through which everything is in.
So then that would mean that light doesn't exist on our plane. It goes through the ether to us.
I don't know, man.
Ah!
I'm confused.
Well, hold on. The planes
So-
of energy.
okay,
Because
so
that's what light is.
So here's what, okay, so to sum up the principle of correspondence, because we gotta kind of keep moving here. Is
Oh,
like,
shit, that's right.
if you, it's like if something happens in heaven, it might affect something on earth. If something happens in the dream world, it'll affect you in the physical plane. And then things that affect the physical plane affect the spiritual plane, and things that affect the spiritual plane affect the I'm getting mixed up.
Everything
right now.
corresponds.
But I'd heard once, I don't know who said this, but the key to being spiritually wise is treating all spiritual matters as if they're material, and all material matters as if they're spiritual. And so this probably
I can see that on like a coffee mug.
right. It's working with the principle of correspondence. So it's like, instead of being like, oh yeah, God will give us, you know, more cocaine tomorrow, you'd be like, no, we have to ration it. No, I don't know. It's just, you get the idea.
Nothing rests. Everything waves. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. The principle of vibration.
So we're on to 3, the principle of vibration.
Everything moves. Nothing is static. Modern science has proven this. Through heat, through light, through cold, everything moves, no matter how still it may look.
Okay, so everything is vibration. Now, from what I understand, absolute zero, we can't even get to absolute zero, scientifically speaking, because of this exact principle. There's the whole point of, okay, so in physics, right? Heat is an expression of energy, which is expressed through vibration, right?
Okay, it's the thing on the wheel that you were talking about.
Oh,
It's right here. I have it tagged. Scientists have offered the illustration of a rapidly moving wheeled top or cylinder. So it's spinning. And then
Right.
the faster it gets, it starts looking like it's going backwards. That's what retrograde means, by the way. Mercury retrograde right now, it's not actually going backwards. It's an illusion.
yeah.
Get your
That's what
lives
it's
together,
perceived.
people. Your problems aren't real.
Hold on. I was saying something about vibration.
Yes.
What was I saying? I didn't want to lose it.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. That's a cool thing about a podcast. You
Oh
can
yeah,
talk.
yeah. Okay, so because of the principle of vibration, you can't get to absolute zero. Absolute zero is like heat is any time like the molecules are moving,
Yes,
right? So
yes.
you cannot stop the fucking atoms and the electrons and shit from moving. You cannot isolate an object from the rest of the universe enough to get to absolute zero temperature.
Oh, shit. I hadn't considered that.
So that's a physics thing, and that is what I was thinking of the principle of vibration. So you literally cannot stop a thing from vibrating. Like, they've tried. It's like impossible. So that's what absolute zero would be. So that's like from a physics perspective. I recognize that that's probably actually a thing, the principle of vibration.
You know it.
And then what about the whole, I don't mean to derail what you're saying.
No,
now.
go ahead.
You got like high vibration and low vibration, like, okay, then this is like this is a common trope motif thing in the New Age movement, but like there's some sense to it, right?
Yeah. Well, if you use the principle of vibration with the last principle of plane, vibration exists on every plane. On our plane, it can either be something we feel or something we hear, and those are two completely different senses. Vibration exists on every single plane. When the spirit world vibrates, we feel it. You feel anxiety, you feel, emotion. That's what it is.
And isn't there that thing where, like, a bridge can be totally stable until it's hit by a wind at the exact right speed?
Oh, you know it.
And it starts to tap into its natural resonance. And that in physics, things have a natural resonance that if you hit them with that exact tone, their structure can fall apart.
And that's what me and Diego were arguing about. How do you break a glass with your voice? Do you match the vibration of the glass, or do you hit the glass with the right pitch at the right point to actually break it?
I think you match the glass.
That would be a low voice, though, because glass vibrates low. It's still, or is still vibrate high.
I don't know.
Anywho.
I'm pretty sure you have to match its resonant tone, and then you up the amplitude, and that causes it to just shake apart.
Oh, damn. Nobody does that anymore, by the way. Mariah Carey was the last one I remember who could do it, and all this auto-tune bullshit.
And then there's like a special speed where if your windows are down in your car, you get that like
and
then your eardrums fucking blow out.
And then you're supposed to open another window. Duh.
I feel like we understand vibration really well, but what did it say in the book?
Oh, yeah, I was just telling you that, how, vibration exists on every plane, and you talked about the spinning top.
Yeah.
First it spins, then it looks like it's spinning backwards, then it looks like it stopped, and then it starts emitting a sound, and then that sound gets higher until it goes silent, and then it starts emitting heat, and then it evaporates to gone.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, the electromagnetic spectrum starts with, like, radio waves, and then it moves to, like, microwaves, and then it eventually becomes light that you can see.
And then it starts conducting other molecular... and then it starts pulling... It turns into a black hole, essentially.
It turns to ultraviolet light, and then it turns to gamma waves, and by the time you're to gamma waves, like, that shit'll kill you.
So, yeah, vibration can exist on every single plane.
But that's the electromagnetic spectrum, and then through the law of vibration, it changes its properties. And also, aliens are probably from a higher vibrational density, and they drop to a lower vibrational density, and that's why they appear out of nowhere. And Epstein did not kill himself. Okay, sorry.
How far did we make it in before you... Polarity.
Okay, polarity. Which principle are we on? 4 now? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Good Lord, there's so much to unpack. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet, all truths are but half-truths, all paradoxes may be reconciled.
I think, do you understand this? Like, I get polarity, but what really gets me is when they get to the whole good and evil is the same thing, but just different polarities.
It is.
That still confuses me, bro. Doesn't that confuse you? It confuses me, man.
Well,
I don't know, like...
Well, you know the saying, you can either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain? Mm-hmm. That's this. Mm-hmm. Your good deeds are only good deeds up until you've wiped out all the other bad deeds. But then you've just murdered all the bad deed, which means you're now the asshole we have to kill.
And and also, yeah, if you kill all of the bad guys, then now you're just normal or the bad guy. You're not even a good guy anymore.
You're just everything. It reaches a point to where you're not what you are. You're the exact opposite. And that's just, they use in here an example with heat. 100 degrees is hot until you're at 102. Then 100 degrees technically is the cold of the two. Exactly. So everything exists the same as its opposite, only differing in degrees.
It almost seems like they should have called this one the law of relativity. But it's polarity.
Einstein read this book. Or maybe not this book, but stuff about Hermes. He was part of that circle.
I think that he
was totally into the occult.
Some people say that he made a good case for the ether, but had to like kind of bury it in jargon and call it something else. And it's like there's an ether. That's the buzz right now. But anyway,
it's like if Gravity Dude was obsessed with the occult and came across Hermes,
Oh yeah.
Einstein was like, okay, if this guy did gravity, I may as well read the same books he did, and then bam, Hermes pops up.
I wish I knew more about that. I feel like I maybe should, but Wait, which one are we on right now? We're on polarity.
Yeah. Next one's the next one.
So it's like everything has two poles. Everything has its opposite. Everything is and isn't at the same time. Mm-hmm. All truths are but half-truths. There's two sides to everything. Opposites are identical in nature, yet different in degree. Extremes meet, and all paradoxes may be reconciled. So yeah, that's like when the left like goes all the way to safe spaces, which is like segregation. So it's like we're restarting segregation. We've gone so far to the left, we're over on the right now.
Yep.
So
It's as simple as good and bad are not absolute. We call one end of the scale good, one end of the scale bad, and then you can blow up the scales by just saying less good, less bad. All of a sudden the scales have flipped.
and so like here's the thing where it's like love and hate is kind of we know is the same thing.
Yeah. You can either love the person or hate being alone.
Now,
What gives us life is our next principle, the rhythm, the fact that you go back and forth from both so that you can find that chunk.
and it sort of seems like the polarity and the rhythm one are related.
Everything flows in.
So we're moving on to principle of rhythm.
Yes, we're flowing into rhythm.
Okay.
And then you will notice that we will flow back to polarity a couple times, because that's what rhythm is. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates.
Now this is the one I kind of don't like. I wish it wasn't sometimes.
There's some that I have trouble with rhythm. The fact that it says, the measure of the right is the measure of the swing to the left and back and forth. Because we all know scientifically you do lose kinetic energy. But
Yeah.
in that initial dropping of the pendulum, I'm pretty sure it's equal, right?
Yeah, I think if you negate, friction,
Yeah.
I think if you can remove the friction on the pivot point on the axis from which the pendulum is swinging, I believe it will just keep swinging.
Then there we go.
I believe some of it is lost through heat in the mechanism.
Yeah, and using this to swing back to polarity, in order for you to know what good is, you need to go, they say you can do something bad, and then you know the difference, and then you do something bad, and you'll know what something good is. That's the swing.
Right.
In order to know what 100 degrees hot is, you go the other way, 99 degrees, and then you know what cold is, and then you go back, and it's, yeah.
And then you've got cycles where it's like, and we see this all the time where some days, okay, if it's if it's quiet at work one day, you best believe the next day it'll be more busy. And then if it's really busy,
Yes.
then you'll go through a period of quiet times. Or like, man, I was in relationships like most of my life, and now I'm like single apparently forever. So
Rhythm, my friend, you
Yeah.
will find someone, and I imagine, I don't want to make up any predictions here, they will know this show.
they might.
Time Witch here, just looking into the future.
He is the Time Witch. You got some fun. You got some cool notes here on your principle of rhythm in your PowerPoint. You have like this fucking, what is that thing? You got like a watch swinging back and forth. I'm
Yeah,
hypnotized.
So basically how this watch works is it looks like the watch is going clockwise
It does.
until it swings the other direction at a certain point. It starts looking like it's going counterclockwise.
Oh wow.
And this is the PowerPoint from my speech. It talks about, works hand in hand with polarity. It's also known as karma. Doing good things brings good things back to you. What goes around comes around. And then examples include, but are not limited to, breathing, life and death, the sun and the moon. They both rise and fall. We live, we die. Good days, bad days. Pluto's ever-changing planetary classification. What's Pluto right now? Is it a planet or is it a rock?
It's a planet to me.
It's a planet right now.
It's always a planet to me. It's never going back.
Never going back. And then, of course, the seasons. Everything comes around.
I grew up eating Trick cereal and they still looked like fucking little fruits and shit. That's why.
Okay, wait, no. But Trix were shapes. I remember eating them as shapes.
That's what I mean. They were like little fruits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've never been fruits?
Yeah, they were like little fruits.
Okay, no, okay.
Yeah.
I thought we were going through a mandala effect. I was
No.
like, not another one!
You never know.
Because that would have been like the one thing you and I don't remember that is the same. Everything else we agree on.
Oh, it's weird, yeah.
That would have been the one.
Oh, we're from the same timeline.
Yeah.
Rhythm. I feel like rhythm is a really good one. I noticed it said that everything moved in circles. Now that was also related to vibration. Now there's really like vibration and rhythm almost are the same thing. And like, when you go into space, it's all about orbiting. Everything moves in circles. Electrons move in circles. I don't know.
Our relationship runs in circles.
Yeah. And you can't
Or
really
whatever you call
have,
that.
and polarity is almost related to those too, because you can't go back and forth unless you have two poles.
Yeah.
So it's almost like these three are in one: vibration, polarity, and rhythm. They're almost like the same thing.
In order to be the all, it's got to be everything and nothing at all.
Yeah, totally. So then we got two more, right?
Yeah. We have cause and effect. If you release the pendulum, it will swing.
Oh.
That is the cause and that is effect. And cause and effect exist on every single plane.
That's a good way to explain it.
Yes, every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause, everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes this law. So just because you don't see what happened, or just because you don't hear what happened, doesn't mean that it didn't exist on the spiritual plane or the etherical plane, and that vibration that exists didn't carry through the planes and make whatever is going on in your life going on. Exactly.
So does this
Bam.
are we to karma now?
Is that what?
Did we reconcile all the problems with karma?
Look, dog, I think we did it. You heard it here.
You heard it here on the Whole
first.
Rabbit.
That's how karma works.
It's not divine retribution.
It's your own damn moving around. Sit
but it
still and
seems
nothing
like
happens.
it. But it seems like it because of the 7 supposedly Hermetic New Thought principles of cause and effect with rhythm and vibration. So like whatever you put out comes back to you to a certain extent.
Because what you do vibrates through your physical universe, and that vibration. Chaos theory. A butterfly flapping its wings in China can cause because of the way that carries. Rhythm is like everything. It exists on every plane. So sometimes you just get fucked. That's all it is.
Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, but sometimes you get boned in the ass because some bad shit you did, and it's not because you're bad, it's just because it's cause and effect.
And sometimes that vibration has absolutely nothing to do with you. It's someone else's vibration that is causing the bad stuff to happen to you, and you're just caught in the crossfire because we all exist here.
Yep, because it's all the all. So it's a little bit of both. Like, I don't know, we can't totally reconcile karma, but we can see how some of its functions work.
Yeah.
Through this. Because, everything is a cause and effect.
Yep.
Chance is but a name for law not recognized. That makes some...
And that law being the law of cause and effect.
Oh, man, we've sort of disposed with that a little bit. You know what I like about that in this chapter? He says that it's not really all free will, and it's not all determinism. It's somewhere in between. That seems like a very sober way of looking at things.
I have a note here.
It's like... There's cause and effect on some degree, but there's also, you have some choice. It's not really one or the other. It's something in between, or it's both, or it's... I guess that's kind of a cop-out, but I like that.
Well, because it has to be. It has to be both things at the same... It's the all, and it's like, what makes you want something? Sometimes you're hungry and you don't, it's because you didn't eat, or sometimes you just have a thought, or... that spark of idea, the fire, the wand, the idea, it might not even come from a physical influence. It could just be spirit had an idea, and then bam, now it's in you because it vibrated down, and you weren't even thinking about cheese on toast, and there it is.
There it is.
That's the randomness of cause and effect sometimes. Law to overcome law.
Okay, so before we move on to the last one, we gotta I don't know, maybe we could talk about it at the end, because he's like, here's what you do with these principles. So let's just do the last one, and then we'll talk about that. So,
gender!
Principle of gender.
Oh, dear.
Was this one necessary? We already had the principle of polarity.
Well, where does polarity, basically it's like, what are the two poles? The two poles are gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principle. Gender manifests on all planes. In order for things to be created, there have to be two things to make them. That's pretty much what it is. Cause, effect, different planes. It has to, then that's what manifests. Gender means, where is it?
Well, from what we understand,
to procreate.
Babies come from sex between a man and a woman.
Yeah. And that's essentially two different things from two different universes. Like your thought processes, their thought processes, your DNA, their DNA, bam. Now you get a completely different motherfucker. To beget, to procreate, to generate, to create, to produce. That's what the word gender comes from Latinly. And the only thing that can create right now, aside from science, we can clone sheep. But even that, you still need two different things.
Is this gender essentialism we're talking about right now?
No, we're trying to not lose listeners here. But look.
I think in the occult world, you just have to deal with this. This is a known thing that comes up as those occultists believe in gender.
Well, of course we do.
Well, yeah, it's
not to be confused with sex. Like your identification, gender is mental. It's the mental. We're thinking about the mental, but also because it manifests on all planes. So that's it right there. We just did it. You can have your planar gender can be different from your actual gender.
Okay.
Because you're more in tune with maybe your spiritual world or
Yeah.
your etherical existence, and it doesn't like the body it's got.
That's what I got out of it. I did not feel like it was throwing trannies under the bus in here at all.
So wow, we actually.
Yeah.
But you need both. You need both. Like everyone has maybe a feminine and a masculine. Some people, you need to be hard sometimes and soft sometimes. You need to be passive when you need to be. If you want to keep somebody, if you know that they're wrong, you just have to be passive and let them. Or if you're getting into a fight and you're not going to win, you just got to roll over, and then you have to sometimes be active and solid and be like, no, fuck you, get the hell off.
Yeah.
It's like you just completely wreck it. So there has to be both sides to everything.
And that's related to rhythm and polarity as well. So I guess, okay, now I sort of went like, duh, and zoned out while I was doing this chapter until it got to...
It was a long day.
And so I started talking about electrons. And it was like, okay, here, it's not about boys and girls, right? It's about positive and negative or feminine. And it was like, okay, so electrons are considered negative, but not like negative bad. They're actually creative, and they're more like feminine. And so it was like, okay, you have these electrons, and then you have a positive, like the proton, and then the proton imposes itself on the negative electron, and then the electron ends up like flying around the positive, like orbiting it.
And then that spinning.
And that makes something new.
Yeah, that spinning creates the heat, the vibration, and then bam, you've got a new... Yes.
Yeah, and so you got a connection between like the outer shell of electrons in two different atoms, and then when they merge together, they become a totally new atom with totally different properties.
You know it.
And so that all reminded me of Shiva and Shakti, the way he was describing it, because Shiva is the male principle that sits still, prostrate underneath Kali, who's the feminine principle, who's active and creative, but also destructive. And so I thought that was a good metaphor for the electron in its own way. How did those Indian mystics know about electrons, and how do they personify them so accurately?
I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with... Well, if you ever do read the book, there's something in here about I and me. The difference between I and me is the principle of gender. It's a really good one.
What did it say? I don't remember.
Oh, let me go find that. What do we have?
There's the I, and then there's me.
Yes, there's an I and a me. So there's this really big difference, like when you say I am this person, but then me is like you're staring at yourself. Me is you staring at yourself. I is yourself staring up at your etherical self. This is the me of a man. It's the story of... Okay, here we go. Oh, wait, no, it goes even further backwards. While at first there seems to only be an I existing, a more careful and closer examination reveals the fact that there exists an I and a me. The mental twins differ in their characteristics and nature, and our examinations of their nature and the phenomena arising from the same will throw much light upon many of the problems and mental influences. And then he says, let us begin. And he goes on for 5 pages. Yeah.
Well, so I guess there's the little I, and then there's the bigger I, which is like the eye of the all.
Yeah. So I think the eye of the all is the me. The eye of the micro is the I.
Okay, is that how he's...
Ow. That hurts. But yeah. Sorry, my brain's starting to... Like, ow.
All right, so to wrap it up, the last 5-6 minutes here... okay, so it's like we got these 7 principles, like throw them in your cauldron and do some magic. Well, okay, he stops on like 3 or 4 of them and breaks it down like this is what you do with this one.
What do you do with this?
And I had trouble understanding this, so hopefully you can explain it, and maybe me and Andrew, when we stop fucking bickering, we'll I'll ask him about this, but the way he explains the pendulum, he's like, okay, everything flows from good to bad. How do you avoid the bad? What you do... Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Whew. I was holding it since like 15 seconds. I'm so sorry.
Oh my god, it's all good.
All right. Thank God you stopped on. Here's what you do.
Okay, yeah. So... the way he explains to use the principle of rhythm is you got good stuff that happens and bad stuff that happens. So you know some bad stuff's coming. This is where it gets really new agey. He's like, you just gotta just ignore it until it gets better, or just don't capitulate. Don't involve yourself. Don't get involved in that bad energy because it'll make you grab onto the pendulum and start swinging. You have to just resist and neutralize the pendulum. That sounds good, and I think it makes some sense. It still leaves something to be desired. Like, I want him to teach me, like, is there a better, like, deeper way to do that? Like, I don't know.
Well, that's how you're supposed to use all the other, that's why he says you use these specific principles. It's like you bind yourself to that mental feeling. You bind yourself to that mental state so that when the pendulum of a different plane swings through your life, you're not carried along with it. Like if you're about to lose your job, just know that everything's gonna be okay, and you don't have to freak out. You can still be happy even if you lose your job. Just don't completely lose it, because then that energy you're making will radiate out into the ether, and then it'll just come back to you later.
Now, how do I say this? I feel like all the time listening in the Uber to like funk and soul music, that's like a big message in the funk and soul music. It's like, I'm trying to get over, don't let this bad shit get you down, get the monkey off your back, keep your vibe up. If someone spits in your face, you just fucking hold your head up high and keep going.
Or deck them in the face if that's what makes you feel better.
Right. But like trying to get over it, like getting over something, like, and not capitulating to the worst part of yourself, and not giving in to the, like, if you've got somebody who's oppressing you, it's almost like you have to be above it in your own heart and in your own way. And it seems like that's what he was saying. So I don't know, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
They tuned their instruments to the vibration of healing waves, right?
Really?
Prince did the same thing.
No
He
way.
tuned his guitar to the, I can't remember how many hertz it is, but you can look it up. He specifically tuned his guitar to have healing waves.
Oh, they do like the because I know we record on this certain frequency.
Yeah.
And you can do stuff at a different frequency, but it's not standard. And they say that like the standard frequencies are all like Illuminati bad brainwave shit. And
shit.
That's what Prince is doing. Is like, and I think the Occulture podcast records at that same positive frequency. You're just getting this straight RF fucking Epstein wave rays of MK Ultra death straight from this podcast, because we're just recording in Audacity like
5 gigs.
Doofuses. Yeah, you're getting 5G. You're getting melted right now, buddy. So that's our Kybalion episode. This is our Kybalion shit. We did it. Rona the Time Witch. Luke Madrid. Fucking hell yeah. I don't know. Is there anything we want to say before we wrap up the show? We talked about all the 7 Hermetic principles. We talked about Hermes Trismegistus and Atkins, and I don't know.
And I think that's everything. Yeah, if I got a bad grade, I'll let you guys know later.
That's not going to happen. All right, everybody, eat carrots, shoot lasers.
Eat carrots, shoot lasers.
Epstein didn't kill himself.